Okay, we're going to look at a new topic, which is recurrence relations. Now, a recurrence relation is a sequence in which each term is a function of the previous term. Now, when I say a function, it just means it's related to it. Okay, so a function of the previous term just means it's related to each term. Okay, so it's a sequence in which each term is a function of the previous term. So a lot of this stuff is well explained by just getting into some examples. Okay, the first thing that I would say is the general term for a recurrence relation, take this down, is un plus 1 equals a un plus b. Okay, un plus 1 equals a un plus b. Okay, where a and b are both constant terms. Okay, let's just see how this would be modelled in real life. This is a topic that's very linked to real life examples. So let's take this one down, example 1. Okay. A patient is injected with 160 millilitres of a drug every 6 hours. 25% of the drug passes out the bloodstream. To compensate, a further 20 millilitre dose is given every 6 hours. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to form a recurrence relation. Now, a recurrence relation is formed by deciding what A and B is. Okay, now, what you should be looking out for in a recurrence relations question is two things that repeat. Okay, if you look at this question, a patient is injected with 160 millilitres of a drug. Now, at no point after that is the patient ever given 160 millilitres of a drug, so that is not something that repeats. However, what does repeat is every 6 hours, 25% of the drug passes out the bloodstream, and to compensate, a further 20 millilitre dose is given every 6 hours. So the two things that repeat in the question is the fact that 25% of the drug passes out the bloodstream every 6 hours, and the other thing that happens every 6 hours is a further dose of 20 millilitres is administered. Now, the 160 millilitres, that just is the thing that starts you off. It's not repeated. So the two things that repeat is the 25% passing out the bloodstream and the 20 millilitre dose that's administered. Okay, so let's put that into the recurrence relation. Okay, so next time out, the amount of blood that's in the bloodstream is given by un plus 1. Now, before we had the term un, so un is previous to un plus 1. So if un plus 1 is what's happening presently, then un is what happened before. Okay, so the recurrence relation can be given by, well, if 25% passes out the bloodstream, how much remains in the bloodstream? Well, that would be 75%. Okay, so that's 0.75 un. So if that's is referring to the amount of blood, well, the next time out, there's 75% of that because 25% has passed through the bloodstream. Now, at that point, we've then got another 20 millilitre dose. Now, would we take away or add that? Well, if you think about it, a further 20 millilitre dose is given, so that's added to the bloodstream, so that would be plus 20. Okay, so let's just go over that again. 25% of the drug passes through the bloodstream, which means 75% remains, but you're also given this plus 20 to compensate. Okay, now we're going to go further with these questions and calculate something afterwards, but the first thing we want to establish is, can we generate a recurrent solution? And then there's the first example. Okay, so two things that repeat, that's what you're looking for, A and B. So here's the amount of blood that was in the bloodstream. 25% of it passes through the bloodstream, which means 75% remains, 0.75, but to compensate, that means add back in, you get another 20. UN plus 1 equals 0.75 UN plus 20. Let's try an example 2. Okay, example 2. It is estimated that in a country park, during the summer months, the vole population increases by 12% each week. It is also estimated that predators kill 100 voles each week. Now, our task is again to come up with a recurrent solution. Okay, UN plus 1 equals AUN plus B. We're looking for two things that repeat in the question. What's the two things that repeat? Okay, the first thing that repeats is the population increases by 12% each week. Second thing that repeats is each week 100 of the voles are killed. Okay, so it's my recurrent solution. Okay, so there's the number of voles. So this number of voles this week, and this number of voles last week. Now what happens is the number of voles increases by 12%. So if we think about the previous question, which was 25% of the drug passed out the bloodstream, that left you with 75%, 0.75. Well, this time the population increases by 12%. So would that be 0.88 for 88%? No, it wouldn't, because that's suggesting that the population is decreasing. It's increasing by 12%. That's 112%, 1.12. Okay. Now, predators then kill 100 voles, so that means that you're getting rid of, not adding on another 100, but you're getting rid of 100 voles. Okay. So the recurrent solution this time is UN plus 1 equals 1.12 UN minus 100. So we're starting with the amount of voles from last week. That increases by 12%. You've now got 112%. But the subtraction is the fact that they've been killed. And that's 100. UN plus 1 equals 1.12 UN minus 100. Okay, question 3. Catherine was given £25 on her 13th birthday. And £20 on each birthday thereafter. She invested these gifts in a building society that pays interest at at 3% per annum, which is 3% per year. Okay, and we need to write a recurrent solution. Okay, so it's going to be un plus 1. Okay, now the investment grows by 3%. Okay, now if the investment grows by 3%, that means you've got 103% of investment. That's 1.03. Now, a mistake to fall into there would be to say, oh, it's 0.97%, but that would suggest that investment is declining, it's not, it's growing. So it started at 100%, then grew by 3%, and grew up to 103%, 1.03 UN. Now look for that other thing in the question that repeats. So it grows at 3% every year, that repeats. What else repeats every year? Well, the £25 doesn't repeat, that's just an initial gift. The thing that repeats is you get £20, or she gets £20 on each birthday thereafter. Now, £20 is not taken off her, she's given that £20, so it's plus 20. So the recurrent solution then is given by un plus 1 equals 1.03 un plus 20. Okay, let's try another question. A car designer has calculated that water escapes, it's probably a keyword, okay, escapes. What escapes from the engine's cooling system at a rate of 10% per month. The system was initially filled with 36 litres. That's 36 of coolant. If she adds 4 litres each month, find a recurrent solution. Okay, look for two things in the question that repeat. Un plus 1 equals AUN plus B. Okay, two things in the question that repeats. Okay, every month 10% of the coolant escapes, so it diminishes by 10%. Okay, the system was initially filled with 36 litres. Does that happen again? Nope, so it doesn't repeat. What's the second thing that repeats? Each month she adds 4 litres. Okay, so un plus 1 equals, now how much of that coolant remains from last time? Well, 10% escapes. Okay, now 10% escapes, 90% remains, 0.9. And then to compensate, we add 4 litres. Un plus 1 equals 0.9 un plus 4. Okay, one more example. Example 5. An infirmary has 420 patients this week. During each week, 15% of the patients are discharged. But by the end of the week, a further 70 are admitted. and we're going to write a recurrence relation. Okay, un plus 1. Okay, 15% of the patients are discharged, so they get out of hospital, which means 85% still remain. Now, what does it then say? Does it say another 70 exit the hospital? No, another 70 are admitted, so that's added into the population plus 70. Okay, now what I want you to try just now is just slightly different to the normal pattern of things. Exercise 5C, and I believe that will be on page 72. But anyway, it's exercise 5C. Now, within exercise 5C, you should see that there are 11 questions. All right. Now, I don't want you to answer the questions fully because these are two-part questions. But what I do want you to do is, for each question, I want you to find a recurrence relation. Okay, so I don't want you to read and answer the question as such. Just do what we did from those 5 examples that I've explained to you there, which is glean information from the paragraph and look for 2 things that repeat. Un plus 1 equals A, Un plus B. I'm just going to check now that it's the 11 questions are appropriate for getting a recurrence relation. Okay, so you're going to do the questions then in this order. Okay, so first of all, do question 2, then do question 3, then question 4, then question 1. Okay, then question 5, question 6, question 7, question 8, question 9, question 10, and then question 11. So do them in that order. So what you should have when you come in tomorrow then, ready for the double, is 11 recurrence relations, and at that point we'll pick up how to do the second part of the question.